How's it going, everybody? Gosh, it's insane to think that this is the season 2 finale. And what an amazing year it's been. It's honestly been surreal. We're gonna end this season, right, with Tim Rogner from the iconic Chicago band Allister. But before we get started, we would like to take a second to thank this week's sponsor, Salt and Brass. Salt and Brass is a streetwear clothing brand inspired by punk, metal, tattoos, and skateboarding. Now, whether you're a teenage dirtbag or looking to join the antisocial surf club, Salt and Brass has got you covered. Need a hoodie or a beanie because it's cold as fuck out? They've got it. T-shirts, shorts, or swimwear? Got it. Head on over to www.saltxbrass.com and pick yourself up some rad shit. Also, make sure you give them a follow on Instagram as well to stay up to date on new items and drops. Once again, that's Salt X Brass, SaltXBrass. Thank you again so much to Salt and Brass for sponsoring this week's episode, and thank all of you for continuously watching and listening. We couldn't do this without all of you. Thank you again so much. Now let's get into the episode, and then we'll see you in season 3.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Where Did All My Friends Go? A podcast about life in the music industry. Today, we've got Tim Rogner from the iconic Chicago pop punk band Allister. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Heck yeah. For those of you that weren't there, Allister was playing at Four Chord Festival, and we happened to be at Four Chord Festival, and it was awesome. We were just able to just walk right up, and you're just hanging out at your merch table. You're like,
yeah, shooting the breeze, hanging out, meeting people.
I love that. So that's where we're able to chat and get this all set up. And one of the other things I've seen that is awesome, crazy. You just celebrated your 20-year anniversary of your album Last Stop Suburbia. How does it feel, like, knowing that something you created 20 years ago still resonates and means so much to people all these years later?
It's cool, man. It's really, really, really cool. When we thinking about it now, when we first wrote that record and when we recorded it, like, never in a million years did we ever think we would still be playing songs off of that record today. And never in a million years did we think that it would resonate with people. And I still get emails and DMs from people who are like, man, that record is so awesome. Thank you so much for recording. And I was like, dude, how rad is that, man? Like, it's seriously the coolest thing in the world. Like, it's the highest compliment I think that you could possibly receive, is like something that you put out 20 years ago still hits people in the right way. I think that's such an awesome thing. And I'm super grateful.
I mean, just as a personal, as a fan, Somewhere on Fullerton is, I think, one of the best pop punk songs ever written.
Awesome. Thank you.
Me and my buddy Mike, who listens to our show, watches it every week. When you guys were playing, that you guys were one of the only people that I was telling my partner Gibby, I was like, I need to go watch Allister at Four Chord. Like, I need to make sure I watch this whole one, because I was also sending my buddy Mike like pictures and videos and stuff, because I'm like,
nice.
Honestly, that song shaped one of my earliest bands. Like, that, like, we're like,
that's so cool.
We were bad. We were so bad, and we're like, all of a sudden, all these pop punk bands, out of the popularity of Blink-182, like Phoenix TX, Allister, Starting Line, and all that stuff, we're like, oh my gosh, I want to be like this. And so when Last Stop Suburbia came out, we're like, we could do that. We could play like that. And
for sure.
So, like, that shaped just me as a musician. And one of the coolest things, I was playing a show, I think probably in 2018, so before the pandemic. We're playing at this record store in St. Paul, Minnesota, called Cadence Records. And I was just flipping through their records, and randomly I found a Last Stop Suburbia vinyl in there.
No way.
And it was amazing. And so that's like my favorite record.
Nice. That's
Like,
so
so
cool.
I,
Yeah, but it's so cool. It's so cool that you say that, because like there's bands like that for me. You
yeah.
know, like I listen to Screeching Weasel, and I listen
Mhm.
to the Queers, and I listen to Green Day, and I listen to Face to Face, and I'm like, I want to be those bands. I can be those bands. Like those are my favorite bands. Like fuck, I would do anything to like be able to play a show like those bands can do, or like to write pop punk like those bands can. You know, and so like
Right.
when those tables get turned and I hear you saying that to me, it's like it's just the coolest thing, because I know exactly what that's like. Like I
Right.
know exactly how that feels, because I was there, and I do it even to this day with all of my favorite bands, and even with like bands that I am newly discovering now today. I'm like, fuck, I want to be just like that. I want to
Yeah.
write a new song just like that guy. And I
Yeah.
just discovered him like two months ago, or whatever the case is.
Right. And it's fun because when, you know, the ever change music's ever changing. So it's fun to like hear something and be like, oh, I wonder if I could try that style a little bit. I want to try it
Mm-hmm.
out, you know? And but yeah, it's great when you're an up and coming musician and you're, you know, just like I was when, you know, we found like my band found Allister, and we're just like, you learn to be better by hearing somebody else that you could sound like. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh gosh, well they're not just shredding all the time. I'm
Right.
not that good of a guitar player. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I can make some four chords with a
Sure.
really awesome melody, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or
Yeah.
try to make an awesome melody, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
hard part.
And I think that's kind of the beauty of punk rock, you know,
Yeah.
is in that. I mean, certainly there are some shredder bands, you
Oh,
know, like that
obviously.
I love and I listen to, like Propaganda is one that sticks out in my mind for sure. But bands like Screeching Weasel, bands like the Mr. T Experience, right? Those were
Hmm.
the bands that I grew up listening to. And I realized, I'm like, well, those guys it's just three chords. That's all it is. And like you said, like I can do that. And I think that's cool, because it gives a sense of hope to people who maybe might be a little reluctant to try. You know,
Right.
maybe they look at those bands and now say, you know what, I'm gonna give that a shot, because if these guys can do it, how hard can it really be? You know,
Right.
and I think that's kind of cool. You know,
And
just giving people that kind of hope.
hell yeah. And then you can like, you know, and as you're growing as a musician, you can branch out. Like our well, one of my, you know, old bass players, you know, after we started like practicing all the time and then being kind of becoming better musicians, he was like, his favorite band became No Effects.
Hmm.
He's like, well, I can't play like that, but I want to, you
Yeah,
know,
and then
and
that becomes your
then
motivation to
yeah.
get better.
And
Yep.
boy, that guy could play some bass after a while though. After
Nice.
starting to learn how that stuff's awesome. I love that
Very nice.
like how music can just make you want to be like a better person, just better at
Absolutely.
your craft. And
Yep.
Allister, let's start kind of the beginning here. Allister was
Yeah.
formed in 1994 under the name Phineas Gage
That's right.
while you
Yeah.
guys were still in high school. So was the band named after the, you know, the railroad foreman survived having an iron rod driven through his head?
Yes, he absolutely was, or we absolutely were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember even how that started. Like, we must have learned about that guy in some sort of like
Yeah,
psychology class or something
for
in
sure.
school, and we were like, "That's pretty fucking cool," you
Yeah.
know? Like, why don't we just call our band that? And so we did for a little while, and in fact, I think we played one or maybe two shows under that name. Like we never made any like stickers or never pressed any t-shirts or anything under that name, but I think we played like a basement show or two under the name Phineas Gage, like when we were 16 or 17,
Sure.
probably, like when we first started off.
I mean, you should make like some like because all I could think of is like, man, there's some pretty badass like almost hardcore designs you could make out of that.
For
Like
sure.
you should
Absolutely.
make some, Allister goes Phineas,
Right.
just make some
Absolutely.
old Phineas type merch just
Hmm.
for the
That's
hardcore
not a
people.
bad idea.
Yeah,
I like that idea,
do it.
actually. That's
You let
pretty
me
good.
know. I'll get
I
one.
will, for sure.
I remember I had a sticker, and one of like my drummer had made the sticker, and it was so brutal. Like it was like a really ominous picture of like from like the Black Dahlia murders. And I
Hmm.
was like, and we were just a straight up pop punk band, but it was so like just ominous looking, and I was just like, God, that's fucking hardcore, dude. It's like,
This is scaring me. I can't do
I know, I was
this.
like,
Like, come
this is
on.
intense, man. But like, we made these stickers out of it. It was all black and white. You couldn't tell anything, and I was just like,
Nice.
this is only missing like some black metal like font. No,
Right.
this would make for such a great black metal band design.
That's
Not
great.
our just pop as hell punk.
Beach Boys pop punk.
Oh yeah, for sure. So in so one of the cool things, one of the greatest things, I think, in 1998, Allister was one of the first bands signed to the legendary pop punk record label Drive Through Records.
Hmm.
From an early 2000s fans perspective, there's really nothing cooler than a band on Drive Through Records. Can you tell us a bit about those early years?
Yeah, those early years were crazy. Like, so when we first started, so okay, so real quick side story, right?
Yeah,
So
heck yeah.
the first show that we ever played was under the name Phineas Gage, but there was a period of time for about maybe a month and a half that we actually referred to ourselves and called ourselves Fall Out Boy, believe it or not.
Okay.
No, that's no joke at all. We never played any shows under that name, but for a while we called ourselves Fall Out Boy, and then we ultimately decided that was a bad name, and then we went with Allister. So
Yeah.
moving forward,
Historically bad name.
historically terrible. Bands of that name will never see any kind of success
No
whatsoever.
one will ever get popular with that
No,
band name.
never. Boy, were we stupid. We really dropped the ball there. But no, so yeah, when we first started, we were this kind of nobody garage punk rock band from the
Mhm.
suburbs of Chicago, and we were just kind of out there doing our thing, playing as much as we could. We recorded a demo tape in my basement, or in my parents' basement, just on a 4-track that we recorded with us and our friend. And we started selling that at shows, and then in I want to say 96, 97, maybe early 97, we sent that demo tape out to a bunch of record labels. Like, there was this old magazine called Book Your Own Fucking Life, where
Yep.
it
Yeah.
was it was basically a compilation of um people who would host shows and people whose basements you could stay at or
Mhm.
play in, like all over the country. Promoters who would do shows for you everywhere. And there were also, I think, lists of record labels in there who were maybe just starting off. And I think that's maybe where we got Drive Thru's name from. I don't really recall. But we ended up sending our demo tape out to, like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 different labels, and Drive Thru was one of the only labels that responded. And they wrote us a letter back, and they said, "Hey, we really like your demo tape, but we want to hear a little bit more."
Sure.
And we were like, "Oh my god, like, this is crazy! Like, a label actually is showing interest in us." At the time, we didn't really even know who they were. They were just on our list of labels to
Right.
contact.
Hmm.
Um, and so we it just so happened that not too long after we got that letter back for them, we had already planned on recording a 7-inch and
Okay.
putting out a 7-inch vinyl ourselves, and funding it ourselves and everything. So we ended up recording that in the winter of 97, and that became You Can't Do That on Vinyl, which was our first like official release.
Hmm.
And so we pressed 500 copies of that and sold it ourselves at our shows, and we sent a copy to Drive Through, and they were like, we really love this, like we want to help you put this out, we want to do a distribution deal with you for this 7-inch, and then we also want to do a record deal. And we're like, what the fuck, you gotta be kidding me, like, oh my god, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason we knew a little bit about Drive Through is because at the time they had this band called Cousin Oliver, who was like a ska punk band.
Mm-hmm.
And we had heard some of their songs on comps and stuff. But I think at the time, Drive Through only had maybe 4 bands. It was Cousin Oliver, this band called Unleaded Plus, and this band called the Pharmaceutical Bandits. And I think that was the extent of their bands at the time. Maybe they had River Phoenix at the time, or they were called River Phoenix at the time. So we didn't really know too much about the label, but we were like, oh my god, a label wants to put out our stuff. They want to do a record deal with us. 100% we're in. And that's kind of how it got started for us. And so then we ended up doing our first record called Dead Ends and Girlfriends in 90. We recorded that in December of 98, and it came out in early 99. And then we toured, and then our second record ended up being Last Stop Suburbia, and that was the one that was our first record where we got to actually spend some time on it with a real producer in a legit, I don't want to say a real studio, but like, with real equipment.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like,
for sure,
spend some time to actually make sure that it sounded good and that the songs were the way that we wanted them to be. When we did Dead Ends and Girlfriends, that first record, the songs were all written when we were like 16, and they were recorded when we were like 18, maybe 18 or 19. So it's a pretty good reflection of that period in our lives, for better or for worse. But I think once we got to Last Stop Suburbia, we had, I hesitate to use the word matured, but I'll use it carefully. We matured a little bit, by that time.
It's a more mature sound for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then so we just, those first couple of years, up to recording Last Stop Suburbia, we just spent touring as much as we possibly could, and playing anywhere and everywhere that would have us play.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it's awesome you mentioned like the RX Bandits, like that. I mean, River Phoenix, who's also Phoenix TX. There's so like you were label mates with so many like awesome bands. Like Drive Through Records was one of the first ever record labels to where I remember just even listening and being like, holy shit, like everything on this is awesome. And those were the great golden age of comps, and that's how everybody, there's so many different comps that were out, and that's how everybody found their music well before Spotify and everything now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, comps were great, and yeah, it was cool. Like it's so funny to think back now about all of the bands that were on Drive Through, and to really look back from the view at 30,000 feet and think, fuck, all of these bands, like, look at these bands: Something Corporate, Finch, Starting Line, Phoenix TX, Homegrown. Like, geez, man. I mean, the Newfound Glory, like, the list just keeps going on. It's like, wow, man.
It's every band that especially like that label touched, it seemed, just had a good career. Just they, or like it validated. Like RX Bandits is an awesome example, because like they're just so like they didn't from a lot of the bands that are on there, they like didn't fit the mold exactly, but good lord, were they fucking cool.
Yeah, very cool. The RX Bandits were the very first band that we ever met on Drive Through, because they came. So this must have been in like 90s. 97 or maybe 98, summer of 98. They came out and did a tour, and they played at a record store not too far from where we lived. And so we had just literally like just signed with Drive Through. And I think we may have even opened the show. I don't really recall if we played or not, but I know we went there. And they were the first ones that we met. And it was like so cool to meet a band from California who was on now the same label as we were.
Mm-hmm.
And like we immediately became friends. Like it was cool to meet people from out of town who were doing the same thing that we wanted to do. You know, they were like one step ahead of where we wanted to be because they were
Right.
out there doing it, and we hadn't quite yet toured at that time because we were
Right.
all still in college and we hadn't quite gotten the chance to tour full time at that point. But yeah, they were the first band that we met, and I still say, you know, when I talk to people about the RX Bandits, they're not always my musically my favorite band, but they're the band that by far, like it's almost not even close, that I respect the most on Drive Through, and they were by far the best musicians on Drive
Yeah.
Through. And to watch them go from what was their first record called, Those Damn Bandits, you know, all the way up to God, I don't even remember the name of their newest record. It's past the Resignation. There's a couple after that now too, but just to see where they've gone and watch the you know, the progression of that band, it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And they're all really great people, and they're just such good musicians. Like it's awesome. It's really, really cool.
I'm gonna have to check out their latest stuff because I honestly, that's one of those things that they like. I just kind of lost track after a while, you know, because so much fucking music out there now.
Yeah, yeah, there really is.
It's wild. It's just nuts. So though you're celebrating the 20 years of Last Stop Suburbia, that album did help shoot you guys into the spotlight a bit. You have a large catalog of music, and it's all good. What
Thank you.
song or album would you say means the most to you, and why?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Boy, you know, it's hard not to say Last Stop Suburbia, only because, you know, it was the best selling record. It was the most popular record that we have, and it's, you know, we're kind of sitting in the middle of the 20-year anniversary of it now, so it's all kind of fresh, and we're right back in the middle of all of that. And there's just so many good memories about that particular album, and I am really, really proud of that record. But we put out a record in 2012 called Life Behind Machines.
Yep.
And I think that's probably my as a band member, right? As like being in the band, that's probably one of the records that I'm the most proud of too. Only because, you know, we did everything ourselves. Like we recorded it with our friend Mark McCluskey, basically at his house, and he helped us produce it a little bit. But for the majority of that album, you know, all of those songs were written ourselves. And I think it really showed a maturity in our songwriting, and in our songwriting capabilities, like what we are capable of doing, and not just necessarily like pop punk. As much as we all love doing just pop punk, I think on Life Behind Machines, we were able to kind of showcase a little bit of a little more creative side to our band, which I thought was really, really fun, that we hadn't really done before. So that was pretty cool for me.
That's a solid record. I was actually just re-listening to it today while I was like working on, you know, some of the stuff for the interview, and like it's a solid record from start to finish. And like a personal favorite off of that of mine is 5 Years. It's a great start to the album. I enjoy that song.
Thank you. Yeah. There's people ask me sometimes, like, what's your favorite song that you've ever written? And like sometimes that's kind of hard. Like I have my favorites,
Sure.
But I think one of my favorites on that record is track number 3 is called Haley. For
Hmm.
whatever reason, I mean, it just has a little bit of personal meaning to me,
Yeah.
and I think it's just a well crafted song, or one of my better crafted songs. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to, like, ask this, because it's like, um as a musician, it's your favorite song isn't always the most popular song,
Correct.
and so it's nice to get that insight of like, what is your favorite,
Yeah.
outside of what's the most popular.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, for sure. Because a song like "Somewhere on Fullerton," right? That's a pretty popular song,
yeah,
and it's a lot of people's favorite Allister songs, right? And I like that song too. But that song was also written in like 5 minutes.
yeah.
So there wasn't, like there wasn't a whole lot, at least going on in my head. There wasn't a whole lot going on behind that song, and it just
Sure.
kind of came out. So it almost felt like there was no effort to that song. So it doesn't feel quite real to me at times,
Oh, sure.
Um, so yeah, it's kind of a strange thing when people, fans of your band, like the songs that you're just like, it's a fine song,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
okay.
nothing
It's all right.
special. Yeah, it would be great.
Well, and also like the fans, people interpret music and songs in their own way.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have a song that is just a story. You were just writing a story.
Hmm.
It's not personal. It's just a story.
Absolutely.
And some people will be like, well, that's my favorite. Cool. It means nothing to me. I
Yeah.
literally has nothing. There's nothing there. And then but then there are other songs that are deeply personal that
Yeah.
people aren't going to know unless you ask.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's part of the beauty of music too, right? Is that everyone can kind of attach their own meaning to a song, and then that's why songs become so personal to you.
mhm,
And I think that's such an amazing thing, that it doesn't really matter what was the intent, or the intention of the artist when they were crafting it.
mhm,
Um, if it resonates with someone in a particular way, I think that's fantastic. I think that's so cool.
right. So the band went on hiatus in about 2007.
Hmm.
Um, did you think at the time that that was the end for Allister, and what drove the desire to return in 2010?
Um, I didn't think it was the end of Allister, but I knew at that time, for various reasons, we needed a break. I needed a break. I
Sure.
think we needed a break collectively. But I did think that we would probably get back and play a little bit more at some point. I honestly didn't think that we would put out 2 more albums. Um, and I'm really happy, or technically 3 more albums if you include the best of the 20-year
Right.
anniversary record that
Right.
we put out in 2019. Um, so I'm really excited that we were able to do that. But I think this kind of thing is just in for me personally, is just in my blood. Like, this is kind of the thing that I just have to do.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily full time anymore, because I have other priorities, but that drive and that urge to play rock and roll, and to tour and to play shows, I don't think will ever go away. At least for me. So it's something that I will always have to do, whether it's with Allister or with other bands that I play in, or other musical endeavors that I do.
Sure.
But with Allister, it was cool because we had enough time. I think it was about 2 years or so that we had time away to kind of clear our heads, do whatever we needed to do. And then around 2009 or so, we started talking about, hey, do we want to play more shows? Do we want to think about doing another album? And then it felt like the right thing to do again. And so we kind of got back together and wrote a bunch of songs. Had a bunch of songs kind of laying around from some of the old sessions that didn't quite
Sure.
make it, and we rehashed them and redid them a little bit, and revised them for before the not before the blackout, for Countdown to Nowhere, that came out in 2010.
Hmm.
um and then, yeah, things just kind of went from there. But because we're all, because we all now have personal lives, families,
Yeah.
full-time jobs, it made it
Fucking
a lot
adults.
harder.
Ugh.
Right. Fuck, what a
Ah.
drag. It made it much more difficult to tour full-time or to play as much as we were before. And it's pretty much an impossibility. So now we just kind of do it when we can. And that's what's really nice for us, is that we're all okay with that. Like, that's fine for
Yeah.
us.
Do you have any future plans for a new Allister album or some new singles that you guys have been in the works, or?
So sort of.
Okay.
We're doing a couple shows coming up the first weekend of December. So we're
Yep.
playing in Baltimore, in Pittsburgh, and in Cleveland. And we've been kind of tossing around the idea of, seeing what kind of new material we have that could be put towards a new album. We're like in the very beginning stages of that. So like,
Okay.
we don't have any plans as of right now. We're just kind of tossing around the idea of doing a new album, which I think we would all like to do. And
Yeah.
I think we have the capacity to do, because I think between me and Scotty are the two primary songwriters.
Right.
Scotty, our bass player,
Hmm.
and so we write the majority of stuff, and we send each other files back and forth like every so often, just like, oh, here's a new idea, here's a new idea. So we have some of that stuff kind of ready to go. We probably have to rehash and go
Sure.
over a lot of the stuff, but I think if we really kind of sat down and buckled down, we could probably be ready to record a new album by like the spring. So I think that's I don't want to get out over my skis here, but tentatively, I think that might be a plan, so that hopefully next year at some point we can actually record a new album, because I know we would all like to do it for sure.
Awesome. Sounds like that'd be awesome. It'd be very,
It'd be very
very
cool.
exciting. Yeah. It's a great time, with the resurgence of the popularity of pop punk and everything. Like, now is a fantastic time.
And that's kind of that's almost exactly what we were thinking too. Like, this would be a good time to kind of capitalize and put out a new record, like, especially with they're doing all those tours now, and the 20-year anniversary tours of like every drive-through band is going to be happening this year and next year. There's the When We Were Young festivals, all of that stuff. Like, it feels like a good time to put out a new record. So
Heck yeah. Maybe you can maybe you guys can work out some sort of juggernaut tour, some drive through alum tour, do some big old fun things.
Yep. I don't think that would be out of the question. I think if logistically we could get it to work, I think there would be some bands who would definitely be interested in doing that.
Hell yeah. Let's get some homegrown back out. Let's
Oh God,
let's
that would
get
be
that
awesome.
going. That'd be the
I would
shit.
love that. That would be the shit.
Yeah, we just had Adam on the show.
Oh, cool.
A few months back in April. So
nice.
Because he's doing his newer band Radical, which is really good. So yeah,
that's a good album. That actually just came on my shuffle the other day.
Heck yeah,
it's definitely good. Yeah, Adam's such a great dude.
Just have to talk down and be like, come on, man, let's get some homegrown. Let's do this. Let's make magic,
just like 2003.
Absolutely. It's what we
It'd
need.
Be perfect. It'd be 20 years. Exactly.
It's what the world needs.
Right. I agree 100%. It's exactly what the world needs.
The world needs this. Speaking of other projects, you have another band called Hot Alice.
I do.
So you recorded a theme for the Cubs called Fly the W in 2016. You've released 2 EPs since then. When you began, I guess I don't know whether the Cubs theme came first before anything else, but when you were working on that, did you intend on starting a new band, or were you just like, let's make a rad jam?
Yeah, I think we were intent on starting a new band. We we had started Hot Alice in a different iteration, probably back in like 2010 maybe.
Okay.
Um, so it started a while ago, and then we kind of went through some member changes and didn't really play and weren't really doing anything. And then in 2015 or whenever it was, my brother joined the band, and we kind of we or he was kind of always in the band, but we regrouped with him and another friend of ours and kind of made like a solid lineup. And that's when we were
Sure.
like, he was like, "Hey, I got this song idea." He's like, "Let me show you guys how it goes." And like immediately we were like, "This is fucking awesome. Like, what is this?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. I don't have any words." And it just so happened that, baseball season was coming up, and
Sure.
we were like, "Hey, look, the Cubs are really good this year. Like, let's turn this song into a theme song for the Cubs." And everyone was like, "Yes," because we're huge baseball fans, like
Mhm.
complete fucking nerd baseball fans. Like we nerd out hard on baseball. And everyone was in agreement. And so we did, and we turned it into this Cubs theme song, which I think turned out really fucking cool. And it's an awesome song. And the Cubs ended up winning the World Series that year. So we like to think that it was all because of our song that they ended up winning the World Series.
I mean, it was, but
It was
sure.
100%.
Yeah.
We're not wrong about that.
No.
But yeah, so and then we just kind of, kept writing our own songs and just kept practicing and playing when we could. And so now we have like we've had our finalized lineup, and we've had the same lineup now for like 3 or 4 years,
Okay.
I think. And so, and we all live really close together, so we can practice a lot. We jam usually every weekend, maybe
Okay.
every other weekend. And it's just another fun rock and roll project for us, just to have something to do to kind of keep us busy and like continue to write songs and like
Yeah.
experiment a little bit. We like try to use effects pedals here and there and just to see what we can do.
Sure.
Just kind of fun.
Yeah. It's it's definitely got a bit heavier, more kind of rock feel to it.
Mhm. Yeah, that was the goal, for it to be a little bit more rock and roll.
Sure. So we got one more question before we move on to our next segment. If you
Mhm.
could give our listeners a piece of advice that you know now that you wish you had known when you were first starting out, what would it be?
Let's see. I would probably say, it sounds a little cliche probably, but don't ever let someone tell you that you can't,
Mhm.
because you can make things happen in any which way that you want to make them happen. Like I remember when we first started off, and we told people like, "Hey, we're gonna tour, and we're
Mhm.
gonna get a van, and we're gonna go play punk rock shows around the country." People were like, "Yeah, right. Okay, sure you are. Good luck with that."
Yeah.
And what did we do? We went out, we bought a van, right? We
Yep.
pulled our money together. We bought a shitty van that had like 150,000 miles on it,
Mhm.
no air conditioning. We bought a
Who needs that?
magazine that gave us a whole bunch of promoters' names and places that we could play, places that we
Mhm.
could sleep, and we did everything ourselves. And for a long time, we did everything ourselves. We booked our own tours, we
Yep.
booked our own shows, and we were successful at doing that. And I think it made us better. It made us better people, and it made us appreciate, I think, the things that we got out of the band more so than other bands who maybe started and after 2 months just kind of had things handed to them.
Sure.
Um, and so I think that pursuit of doing whatever it is that you love doing,
Mhm.
is really important for your mental health,
Mhm.
first and foremost, because that keeps you happy,
Right.
and then I think that's, not to get too much off on a tangent, but I think that's one of the things that's lacking a little bit, is that people don't do enough for themselves
Mhm.
when they need to.
Right.
They don't take the time out to do things that make them happy, like truly make them happy. They might do things that are fun, like go bowling or
Right.
like, play mini golf, but like they don't do things that truly make them happy. And when you can find something like that, like whether it's playing rock and roll or, doing art or, writing stories
Hmm.
or, painting, whatever the case is, I just think it makes you an overall better person.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And it's tough because, especially in the world of like rock and roll, it's so easy to just give up when
Hmm.
things are hard. Or just, and I guess in any kind of creative project. But whatever you're doing, taking the time to learn all the aspects of it yourself, because nobody is going to want it for you more than you will want it for yourself.
Hmm. Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
because you can have the greatest like team behind you, but if you are no longer doing well to pay that team that cares so much about you, they're going to leave. They're going to
Yeah.
leave you. And if you
Yep.
didn't learn how to do any of that stuff on your own, you're going to be left in the dust.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another thing too, as I was kind of sitting here thinking about it, is to always like be honest with yourself, right?
Mhm.
Especially like in your artwork or your creative endeavors, right? That's
Mhm.
really important. Like I remember for a while, like all we tried to do was be Screeching Weasel, and like
Yeah.
and that was cool, but
Yeah.
there gets, you get to a point where like you have to become Allister, or you have to be honest with what it is that you're creating and what you're doing, because when you're honest with your own creative outlets, people recognize and people will see that honesty and they will respect that much more so than they will watching someone who's just trying to copy someone
Right.
else's work.
Just
So
watching Allister try to sing like Billy Joe from Green Day, you know, like no one wants, they want to see that. They want to see you sing like that.
right, right.
I only say that because that is literally what, how I initially was starting. Uh, learn Green Day's early Green Day, especially, very easy to learn. As you are learning how to play guitar, learning
Hmm.
how to not only play but sing and play guitar. You know, Green Day was one of the first ones that I started to learn, and
Absolutely. Oh yeah, me too.
you gotta sing like them though. If you're gonna sing
Hmm.
those songs, you gotta sing like them.
Absolutely.
And
No
then
doubt about it.
that, like, I had a problem not singing like that.
Right,
After,
right.
like,
Because it just becomes second nature. You're
yeah,
like, wait a
stop
minute.
doing that. Stop it. But on that note, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our next segment.
Nothing gets you more fucking psyched for Christmas, quite like pop punk and emo Christmas songs. Unsigned Pop Punk and Common Thread Records present to you a very pop punk Christmas Volume 2. 13 ass-kicking holly jolly tracks from some of the best up-and-coming bands in the scene today. Get your copy now for just $10. The first 50 orders get a free holiday ornament. Limited quantities are available, so don't be a bozo and get yours today.
And we're back. We're gonna hop into our obscure questions segment. Yeah, I didn't get too like weird with this one. Sometimes I get weird. It all depends. It really all depends.
It's all good.
But so we were talking about that you're a big Cubs fan earlier.
Hmm.
That actually is my first question. So since you're a big Chicago Cubs fan, can you tell me your favorite Cubs moment that you've experienced?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty easy for me. That watching the Cubs win the 2016 World Series. I've been a Cubs fan since I was born, and they've pretty much my entire life have just been perpetually bad. And so,
Yeah.
watching them have some success in those years from 2015 through 2018, 2019, That was amazing. Just watching the whole playoffs or the whole season, really.
Yeah.
Watching them go all the way from the beginning of the season. They were rated as the best team in the league. They were number one throughout the entire season, and they ended up winning the World Series. And that Game 7 of that World Series is probably one of the greatest sporting events in the history of sports. I mean, between them and the Indians at the time, like that, it was unbelievable. That's my favorite.
It was a very good series. How about I think, was it the season before the Back to the Future season?
Yes, it was 2015.
Yeah, where they were supposed to win. But they did
They made it all the way to the National League Championship Series, and then they ended up getting swept by the Mets. But that was crazy. That Back to the Future, which is my favorite movie, by the way. Hence the sweatshirt.
Funny enough, I didn't actually put 2 and 2 together. But I did notice earlier that you were wearing a Back to the Future hoodie.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy that they almost called that.
I know. I was watching. I grew up as a young lad. One of my goals in life was to be a Major League Baseball player. That's just what I was going to be.
Of course.
Yeah, I was going to be the next Nolan Ryan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Play until I was 46,
Right. 26 seasons or whatever it is.
27.
Is that what it was? 27 seasons?
Now, here's the thing. I'm not super knowledgeable. The only reason I know that is because during my time being sick over the past week, there's a documentary on Netflix called Facing Nolan, and I just watched it.
Was it good? I've heard good things about it.
It's super good.
Awesome.
Super good. But yeah, there was a lot that I didn't know. He was my favorite baseball player when I was a kid. He was my number one, and it's wild to think of that he was 40 years old when he became my favorite baseball player. That's crazy. Fucking insane.
That is crazy. Wow. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Just as a sports fan fun fact, if you didn't know, the last no-hitter that he pitched, he was 43 years old.
It's unbelievable. And how many did he throw? 7?
7.
Man, that's
insane.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, It's so ridiculous. It's funny, that you mentioned Nolan Ryan as your favorite baseball player, because Greg Maddux is my favorite baseball player. And it would make me wonder, kind of in our generation, how many of our favorite baseball players are pitchers? Because a lot of my favorite players are pitchers, now that I think about it. I like a lot of the hitters too, but there were so many good pitchers that I liked.
Well, there were so many good pitchers. But I liked the power people, the power pitchers, the power hitters, because they just made early 90s, Ken Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas, Bo Jackson, all those monster hitters. And same thing with Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, just power pitchers that doesn't matter. They hold the record for walks. They also hold the records for strikeouts.
Right. Yeah. What was Nolan Ryan at? 5,000 some strikeouts?
He was 5,700 something. He was fucking close to 6,000.
That's so ridiculous.
Randy Johnson was on that the documentary, and he was like, I'm in second place for most strikeouts, and Nolan Ryan has 1,000 more than I do.
That's crazy. It's one of my most favorite fun facts about Greg Maddux is that this almost more so than any of his pitching statistics. He won 18 Gold Gloves. That's crazy. 18 as a pitcher. That's so ridiculous.
That's wild. Do you know another thing? Nolan Ryan never won a Cy Young award.
Is that right?
Not one.
Wow, I never knew that. That's
literally the greatest pitcher of all time. Not one Cy Young.
Unbelievable.
He also hit a home run once.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch that documentary. I knew it
good.
was out there, but yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out maybe if I get some time this weekend.
It's good. So back onto like the original question.
Mhm.
I'm from Minnesota. The Cubs, so I can like the Cubs because they're not the White Sox. I
Yeah.
can't like the White Sox, but
For
I can
sure.
like the Cubs. So I actually I think I've watched almost as many Cubs baseball games as I have Twins games because we had WGN
Mhm.
and it was always fucking on. The Cubs were
Yeah.
always
Always.
on, always.
Yeah.
And so you could watch the Cubs more than you could watch the Twins
Yeah.
up here. So it was just like, so me and my friends, like that's all we would do was baseball was our life. So we'd watch the Cubs just get wrecked usually.
Every season they were so bad.
But there's this movie with Dana Carvey called Opportunity Knocks.
Okay.
And I was like obsessed with it when I was younger. I just thought it was so great. And like one of the big things in it is how like their favorite baseball player was Ernie Banks.
Mm-hmm.
And so like as an adult, I was like, I'm gonna get a fucking Ernie Banks jersey. You know, so I have an Ernie Banks jersey.
Nice. Now that rules.
Yeah, it's just like
that's so great.
You know, I've got a whole bunch of Twins jerseys and an Ernie Banks.
Very nice. Very nice. You got a Puckett?
I do have a Puckett. Yeah. I was trying to think. I'm like, do I have a Puckett?
I was like, you gotta have a Puckett. Like that would be probably the staple. I would think. Who else? Joe Mauer.
Yeah, Joe Mauer. I mean, I kind of always wanted a Chuck Knobloch.
I was just gonna say that. Do you have a Chuck Knobloch jersey? But like after he started getting those yips thrown over to first base, I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, or I mean, Rod Carew. You know,
yeah.
I mean, Killebrew.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, a lot of good. Yeah,
I always like sometimes I like the obscure ones, but I really can't think of anyone offhand currently. Like I said, I'm impressed that my brain's pulling these names out currently.
Have you been to the new Target Field?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen a game there?
Oh yeah. It's great.
It's nice. Yeah, I love it.
The only thing I have against it is I really dislike that all sporting event centers are in fucking downtown Minneapolis. God, I don't like that. It just makes parking so hard.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. But I did get to go to Wrigley Field once, and that was awesome.
Very nice.
I mean, it's the oldest stadium in baseball.
I think Fenway might be like a year older.
Is it?
I think so. I think Fenway was 06 and I think Wrigley was 08 maybe. I might be wrong. Maybe I have those backwards. I'm not sure.
That's fair. I just know that, you know, the Yankee Stadium was torn down, so that doesn't even count anymore.
Nah, fuck those guys.
Goddamn right.
Man, I could talk baseball all day.
I'm sure our listeners are like,
it's like come on, let's get back to the music.
Speaking of music, let's get into another question that has nothing to do with music. But being from Chicago, you've got some pretty iconic food dishes. Chicago's known for its deep dish pizza. So this is going to be a two-part question. First, where, in your opinion, is the best place to get pizza in Chicago? And it doesn't have to be deep dish. It can be whatever you want. So we'll start with that one.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that, like, you know, deep dish is kind of what Chicago is known for, but like when you talk to almost any Chicagoan, nobody here actually eats the deep dish. Nobody really likes the deep dish. It's all about the tavern style, like the thin crust.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And
some brick oven.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. I don't know. For me, there was a restaurant called Taylor Street Pizza. I actually worked at one of them for a little while,
Okay.
and man, they made a good pizza. Like that was a good pizza. There's a couple other places too. You know, Lou Malnati's is like the famous, kind of the most famous one. Giordano's is pretty famous too. Like,
Yep.
those are okay.
I've had Giordano's freeze shipped to me in
Okay.
Minnesota. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's decent for sure. But it's usually kind of some of the hole in the wall places that have the best tavern style, the best thin crust. And it's got to be square cut. Like, get out of here with that pie cut shit. Those triangles, fuck. It's got to be square.
Wow, really? Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So like you like getting those just middle with no crust pieces?
Mm-hmm. I generally prefer the crust pieces, but I like the middle. Yeah.
Like if I'm eating a pizza with somebody else and it's kind of, it's that square crust thing, I'm going for all the crust pieces first.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight to get those.
That's usually the way that I would go too.
Yeah.
But I don't mind the
middle part for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be less happy about it.
Absolutely.
But I don't know about you, but like the thing that excites me about the square cut are the little tiny triangle pieces that, oh gosh, so that's my favorite. I'm like, give me that. That's
sometimes it's just dough. There's like
they
cut
matter.
it so that there's not even sauce or cheese. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I will fist fight you for it. You give me that triangle piece.
Nice.
Okay, the second part of the question. So you've toured you've toured not only all over the country, but you've toured all over the world. Have you had a better pizza than in Chicago? And if so, where?
Ooh. I don't think that I have. I don't mind New York style pizza. That's
what
kind
about
of
the New York pizza?
It's kind of the floppy New York pizza. You kind of bend it, like
you gotta be able to fold it.
Right. You fold it up, shove it in your face. I don't mind that sometimes, but no, I think Chicago is probably the best pizza. Now, I will say that Minneapolis has the best, one of my favorite foods or favorite burgers is the Juicy Lucy.
Oh yeah. Good stuff.
Like every time we play in Minneapolis and every time I go there, we have to go to Matt's.
Okay.
Because it's the best. And I know there's another place that serves another variation of the Juicy Lucy. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called either, but it's Matt's and another one, and they both fight for who started it.
Yeah, Matt's has always been my preference. Like,
it's good.
It's so good. Oh, it's so good. Every time we go there, we always stop. But that's one of my favorites.
I'm a big burger fan. Like burgers, like my top 3 foods are like burgers, pizza, and tacos. Like,
nice. You can't go wrong.
I'm about as pop punk as it gets.
Right.
My last obscure question. It's pretty straightforward. What are your thoughts on the Chicago dog?
Ooh, man, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble for this, but I think the Chicago dog is bullshit. It's such bullshit. Man, like these fucking assholes that tell you not to put ketchup on a hot dog, like get out of here with that shit. If you like ketchup on your hot dog, put ketchup on your hot dog. So tired of this. You can't put ketchup on your hot dog.
So even if it's a Chicago dog, is it like blasphemous to put ketchup on it?
Oh yeah. You never put ketchup on a hot dog in Chicago. Like never.
Wait, like on any hot dog? What the fuck?
Yeah,
I can't eat just bun and meat. That's boring as shit.
Right. Well, I think the thinking is that if you're gonna eat a hot dog, it's got to be the Chicago style with the
Okay.
peppers and the pickle and the
Yeah.
mustard, And
Well, I
like,
mean,
I
yeah.
don't mind that. I don't like pickles, so I won't eat pickles.
Okay, so
But
I like a pickle. I like pickles.
yeah, a lot of people do. Not
Maybe.
me.
I mean, I honestly don't think I've ever had like a Chicago dog.
like the true Chicago style
Yeah,
dog.
especially not in like I've never had one in Chicago. When
Yeah.
like every time I've been to Chicago, I'm like I'm gonna get one, and then I fucking don't.
Yeah.
Why would I?
Right. I mean,
just-
it's not bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just saying, like, you can put ketchup on a hot dog. Like, that's
Yeah.
okay to do, and it
Well,
still tastes good.
right.
think.
I agree. I like ketchup, so
I do too. Yeah.
yeah. I'd like if I'm gonna like I think just on a hot dog, like there's nothing better than just a good old. I like mustard too, but like I like the combo, ketchup
Yeah,
and mustard.
Absolutely.
It's a good combo.
Ketchup, mustard, throw some onions on there.
Oh yeah,
I'm into
there
it.
you go. Now you're talking my language.
Hmm.
That's a good ballpark dog right there.
That is a good ballpark dog. Yep.
Well, that's it for my obscure questions. We're gonna go to our last segment, which is just rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And so all you're gonna do here is gonna speak from the heart. You're gonna shoot from the hip. Whatever your first answer, go with it.
All right. I hope they're good.
Oh, I have faith in you. I got you.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
Patrick.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Mario or Luigi?
Mario.
Yeah. Okay, this one isn't either or question. This one's gonna challenge your brain.
Okay.
And I have faith in you. You're a Midwestern boy. You've got this. Okay.
All right. Pressure's on.
Okay. Can you sing to me the jingle for Bagel Bites?
No, I cannot do it.
You sure?
I have no idea.
I've run into so many of this lately. So I come up with these questions for like pretty much the whole season. And this one I was like, this is going to be such a hit or miss question, but I'm going to roll with it the whole year. And I think the past like 10 people are like, I have no fucking clue.
No
like,
idea.
Every once in a while you'll get one and it's like, oh yeah. But most of the time, so I'm going to sing this to you and I'll bet you that you'll remember.
I'll probably recognize it.
So it's pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza
at supper time.
When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime.
Oh yes, for sure. Oh man, that's funny.
It unlocks such a core memory. Like I've never, for some reason, I've never been able to forget that. I couldn't remember what the fuck the commercial was, what happened in the commercial, but through my whole life, I never forgot that damn song.
That's so funny because the minute you started singing, I was like, oh yeah, I fucking know this song.
Yeah.
But if you didn't, had you not given me the context and you just sang the song, I would have known the song, but I would have no idea what it was a commercial for. Would not have been able to tell you that it was for, what is it, Bagel Bites?
Bagel Bites. The little pizza bagels.
Yeah, no, I would have no idea that's what it was for. But I do know the song for sure.
I know. And it's just like, it's one of those I'm like, I can't be the only one. I need to find out how many other people remember this.
Oh, that's so funny. Man, I haven't heard that in so long.
All right, well, if Allister wants to cover it, just let me know.
All right. We'll kick you back some royalties if we do.
Oh, I don't need it. I just need first cut.
All right, we can do that.
Okay, I got 3 more for you.
All right.
Gwen Stefani or Haley Williams?
Gwen Stefani.
hard shell or soft shell tacos?
Hard shell.
Yeah, it's a good one. How about a good old double decker? I
Yeah,
like
that's
those.
good too. Yeah.
I like
That's
those.
a tough one. I like both hard shell and soft shell tacos.
And that's fair because they're both great. But there's a thing like
Mhm.
for me personally, I can eat like I love soft shell, and almost every single time I'll have soft shell. But there are just moments and periods in my life where like I will fight somebody for a hard shell taco, and I
Yeah.
don't know why, but like I will crave a hard shell taco
Mhm.
so badly, but I won't ever have that feeling for a soft shell.
Yeah. You know what's really funny is that I very rarely ever eat Taco Bell.
Yeah,
Like but I get a craving for it like 3 times a year.
sure.
And like when I do, that's what I get the craving for is the hard shell tacos.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll usually get a couple of those and like a couple of soft shell tacos and maybe like a burrito.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, except mine's more like 3 times a week I'm craving it.
You're like my brother.
Yeah. Yeah, but my whole thing is when especially once I get like those intense cravings for a hard shell taco, and then you go and eat the hard shell taco, and then it stabs you in the roof of your mouth, and you go, why did I want this?
Why did I do
Every
that?
time. Every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last question in rapid fire questions. Sum 41 or yellow card?
Sum 41.
It's good. It's a good one. Why is Sum 41 your choice?
Because they're a better band, I think.
Okay, that's fair. See, to me, it's like I think they're both incredible bands. I enjoy metal music, so I love like that metal that they incorporate into their pop punk. I think the yellow card and the violin's incredible as well, but like I find myself wanting like that roughness of Sum 41. It's just fun.
Yeah. I tend to prefer bands with a little bit of an edge to them, or like what I perceive as an edge,
Sure.
like Bad Motherfuckers, you know?
Yeah.
And not that Sum 41 necessarily has that, but I feel like they have that a little more than Yellow Card.
Sure.
And so that's why I'd probably go with them.
Fair enough. I agree. I mean, it's same feelings.
Yeah.
And that's it. You did it. You finished the podcast. Now's your chance. Let everybody know what you got going on, where they can find you. What's next?
Ooh, so yes. So I am Tim from Allister. You can find me still on Twitter for the time being at HumbugRog. I'm also on Instagram at Tim Allister. Yeah, check out the bands that I play in, Allister and Hot Alice. I also got a Bandcamp page with some stuff that I do, just some solo songs that I've released and solo EP, some stuff that I post up there every once in a while. Yeah, come and check me out. Send me some messages. Let's talk.
Hell yeah. Well, Tim, thanks so much for hanging out with me. It's been a blast. Yeah,
definitely fun.
Hell yeah. Well, this has been another episode of Where Did All My Friends Go? Podcast about life in the music industry, and we will see y'all next Monday.
Thank you so much for checking out the show. Please hit that like, subscribe, or follow button so you never miss an episode. And thank you so much to those of you who already are. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere else you stream your podcasts. If you're in the position to help us grow and like behind the scenes access and exclusive shows, head on over to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/unsignedpoppunk. Let us know in the comments who you'd like to see on the show and what other content you'd like to see. Thank you all so much.